Welcome to Belgium, and more precisely to the legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit, which welcomes in this month of May 2013 the third edition of what's undoubtedly the biggest classic cars event in Belgium. This year, classic car enthusiasts were spoilt for choice, with prestigious fields assembled containing some outstanding cars. Classic Endurance Racing 1 and 2, Trofeo Nastro Rosso, 60s Endurance, Group C, Historic Formula 2, Spa Classic Jubilee, and not forgetting the touring car category. The organiser of the event expects another exceptional edition.
Yeah,
it's the third edition and we're very happy with the evolution. We said from the start that we wanted to create the reference event in terms of classic cars on the circuit, and I think we're getting there. For 3 days, the Spa Classic allows the chance to relive the great days of motorsport. 9 fields of classic cars get out on the fast and undulating Belgian track during the day and at night. And despite the changeable weather, some famous names have made the trip. A real car enthusiast and a habitual Le Mans Classic competitor, François Fillon, the former French Prime Minister, has entered Spa for the first time. He goes in Classic Endurance Racing 2 in a BMW M1 from 1979, but also in the Trofeo Nastro Rosso with a beautiful Alfa Romeo Giulietta SZT from 1962. It's my first time on this magnificent circuit, which I've seen so often on the TV for F1 and endurance races. When you're at the wheel, it's even more impressive with the speed of the corners. It's a technical circuit and you need to be here more than once to learn it properly. There are greater sensations with the BMW as it's faster. There are still protos overtaking you at incredible speed. But it's a magnificent car. I like both cars and it means I can race more. Created in 2010, the Trofeo Nastro Rosso is there for sport and Italian GT cars from the end of the 50s and start of the 60s. 2 races are on the programme, and off the first start it's Vincent Gay in his Ferrari number 55 who gets away from pole. The Belgian Gay in his Ferrari 275 GTBC from 1966 wins from the Maserati 250S of Marc Devy and the Bizzarini 5300 GT driven by Jean-Luc Georges. He also goes on to win the second race. As for François Fillon, well, he ran into a few problems.
It's a bit
frustrating to have the smallest car in the field. It slides a bit, it's a bit sporty. I've got some strong memories from this race as a car tried to overtake me on the inside and clipped me, causing minor damage to the car. The Spa Classic gathers together jewels from motorsports history. And in this year, celebrating the 50th birthday of the Porsche 911, more than 50 of the German cars have braved the difficult weather conditions. There's also one category dedicated to the Stuttgart-based manufacturer, the Spa Classic Jubilee. Jean-Philippe Grand, a former driver and team manager at Graf Racing, explains to us the joy of taking part with a Porsche 911 RS.
I'm
having great fun with these cars because I've realised that this Porsche for its era was a very well-balanced car, a modern car that was ahead of its time. The car is nice to drive and there's no frustration there in driving cars from this era. The category was specially created for the occasion and the fans got to see an emblematic Porsche. Entered in the competition in an RSR number 82, along with Michel Lecour, Raymond Narak starts from pole and shows he's in the mood to dominate his competitors. At the end of the 30-minute race, Raymond Narak wins easily from the Colombian Santiago Orjuela and the Swiss Didier Denat.
Je suis un spécialiste de la moderne.
I'm a modern car specialist, as everyone knows, but I really enjoy driving this car. I think Michel thinks the same thing as me. The car's really good, and we saw the difference today.
Elle est vraiment très aboutie et on a vu la différence aujourd'hui.
On est beaucoup plus respectueux de
We're
notre
much more
matériel parce que
respectful
ça
of the
représente
car
aussi
because
un
of the heritage
patrimoine.
of it,
Et
and that's
aujourd'hui,
not
c'est pas
negligible.
négligeable. D'ailleurs,
If
si
these
toutes ces
races
courses
exist, it's
existent,
because of
parce
that
qu'il y a un patrimoine
heritage.
aussi.
There's a
Donc,
different spirit, and we're doing this with our
c'est
mates.
dans un autre état d'esprit et on est avec des copains en fait.
The Spa Classic also gives the clubs the chance to show off their impressive collections.
On a une grosse activité avec les clubs.
We're heavily involved with the clubs. I think there are 1,000 club cars here. Nissan, Porsche, BMW, Lotus, TVR, Triumph, Ford and lots of other cars proving the growing success of the event. The important news in this 2013 edition of the Spa Classic is the introduction of 2 touring car fields that remind the passionate fans of the great years of the 24 Hours Francorchamps. Tourism is the emblematic field at Spa. The 24 Hours of Francorchamps was run for decades with touring cars. These cars are in the memories of the Belgian spectators, so we decided to get them running. This year is a first for us, so we've got 40 cars in one heat racing for an hour during the day, and then another for an hour at night. Good news, welcomed by an ex-Formula 1 driver and 5-time 24 Hours of Spa champion. Belgian Eric van der Poel is here as a spectator.
Historique prend un peu le pas aujourd'hui et
classic cars are very in right now and everybody's very committed to them. These cars made us dream and we really want to see them again. Not only see them but also smell them and hear them, because when you see a 3-litre CSL BMW in the straight with a 6-cylinder engine like in the good old days, well, that's something. The first time I did the 24 Hours of Francorchamps was in the era of the Capris and the BMWs, and it was fabulous. These cars mark the history of Spa and the 24 Hours of Francorchamps. Seeing them again with their classic colours, seeing the drivers and mechanics who took part in this great occasion, well, I think it's really important for it to happen every year, and long may it continue. 2 one-hour touring car races are on the programme, and there are 38 cars taking part in this major thirst. When the lights go green, it's the Ford Escort 1600 RS from 1974, driven by Claude Boissy, that takes the lead ahead of the BMW 3-litre CSL of Rochman and the Ford Capri 2600 RS from 1973, driven by David Ferrer. In this 1-hour race, there's a mandatory driver change, and with the fatigue, forgetfulness can mean time lost. It's delicate too for the mechanics. Unfortunately, we've got problems with the fuel pump. It just cuts out, and apparently there's dirt in there, and so the engine loses power just like that. And to avoid breaking the engine, I decided to come in. Things were going really well up till then. The car won here in 71, so it was a chance to get the car out of the garage and show it off. After 21 laps of racing, it's the Ford Capri 2600 RS from 1973, driven by John of B and David Ferrer, that wins. A special guest for this 3rd edition of the Spa Classic is the boss of the Citroën racing team in the World Rally Championship. Yves Maton was satisfied with his stint in the legendary 1970 SM.
me suis très bien
I
amusé.
had a lot of fun.
Et
At the
à la
end, it was
fin,
a bit
c'était un
difficult
peu
because it
compliqué, il a
started to
commencé à
rain and we were
pleuvoir et ça
sliding all
glissait
over the
vraiment très,
place.
très fort.
And another new thing, the second touring car endurance race takes place at night.
Pour moi qui suis plutôt un rallyman, la
As a
cause de lui,
rally
ça me
man,
plaît.
driving at night pleases me. If it's raining and dark, then I like it. But we're really here to have fun rather than target a certain finishing position.
Vraiment viser une place.
In these tricky conditions, only the most courageous drivers will be able to stand out and aim for the top step of the podium. Unused to the cold conditions, the machine shows certain signs of weaknesses. And at the end of this second 1 hour race, it's again the Ford Capri 2600 RS number 44 that wins, making the drivers oh so happy.
Plus de freins à la fin, plus de pneus,
We didn't have
plus
any
rien.
brakes left, no
Mais c'est pas grave.
tyres either. The
L'essentiel,
main
c'est,
thing was to get a second win.
c'est la
The
deuxième,
car's
et
worth
cette
50,000
voiture a
euros more now.
de plus.
The Spa Classic, where there's something for all the family. The 13,000 spectators present enjoyed the prevailing good atmosphere. The drivers weren't forgotten either, as the Drivers' Club provided meals before the races and was getting set for the 60s soiree on the Saturday.
On a voulu que les spectateurs
We wanted to make sure that everybody, from the most passionate fans to those just seeing these cars for the first time, had something different to do each hour. There were things to do for all the family, dad, mum and the kids. We want these to become family outings, events where you spend a whole weekend.
Familiaux où on vient passer un week-end complet.
The spectators had the opportunity to discover the Wall of Death, something new which impressed those small and larger alike. Also here, slot racing, a unique track in Europe composed of 8 parallel lines more than 30 metres long, allowing families to compete amongst themselves in scaled-down models of their favourite cars. And we mustn't forget the mobile swing band in the Automobilia village. In the heart of the paddock, this real merchandising zone groups together miniatures, clothes, books and other objects. It's the ideal place for the spectators to dive into the vintage atmosphere of the automobile world. And it's not far from the Alain Figueret boutique that we caught up with Ludovic Leboeuf, the president of the famous clothing line.
Spa, c'est incontournable, hein. Le plus beau circuit
you know,
du monde.
Spa is a
C'est un
must. It's
événement
the most
qui
beautiful
domine son
circuit in the
puissance.
world.
Nous
It's
sommes
an
là depuis
event
le
that's
début,
growing
donc
all the
c'est la
time.
troisième édition.
We've been there since the
Nous
start, and
allons
this is the
vraiment
third
rester,
edition, and we
pour-
intend to
pour
be here for a
longtemps,
long
des
time to
plateaux
come.
exceptionnels.
There are
Vraiment
great
un esprit
fields here, a true
communautaire,
community
qui
spirit that
s'agrandit,
grows from race to race,
de
season to
saison
season.
en saison.
You catch up with your friends at these things, and it's always shared wholeheartedly with the spectators. And the crowd size grows all the time, so it's a real fate for automobiles.
Donc c'est vraiment une grande fête de l'automobile.
Usually a competitor in the Peta Alto events at the wheel of a Jaguar Type E. Unfortunately, it's from trackside that he witnesses this one. He says our car had a little off at the Tour Auto, and we've not been able to get back in it. The car wasn't ready in time, so I'm here as a spectator and as a groupie of sorts for my friends who are competing.
Que nous sommes présents.
On track, in between the two touring car races, is the much anticipated 60s endurance race. AC Cobras, Ford Shelbys, Jaguar Type E's and Porsche 911s will take to the asphalt for 2 hours. After dominating testing, the AC Cobra number 12 of Ludovic Caron soon gets clear of its opponents. A little before half distance though, an engine problem puts an end to the hopes of the Frenchman, leaving him hugely disappointed. As in the touring cars, the race is also decided in the pits, where there's a mandatory driver change. After 2 hours of intense racing, it's the Dutch duo of Karsten Leblanc and Jaap Sinker taking the honours.
I never won a motorsport event ever, and that's my first. I had to wait 40 years for this, so it's fantastic.
We leave the on-track action now, but stay in the 1960s for the gala evening that punctuated the action. The Spa Classic isn't just about racing, it's also about the joys of a weekend away. But the Sunday morning puts a dampener on things quite literally. If some are wary, the pole sitter for the race, Patrice Lafargue, with his CER2, isn't too worried. I love the circuit, and going off from pole is a source of great happiness. We'll try to be careful because these are beautiful cars. We're not there to do something silly, but we'll have a fight out there. Even in the rain, it'll be fun. It'll be a joy. Off the start, the driver of the Lola T298 BMW from 1979 gets the better of the two marches of Britain's Doug Hart and Paul Knapfield. But after 30 minutes of racing, the Frenchman hits engine trouble, and that relegates him to the back of the field. It's even worse for his teammate Frédéric de Rocha, who has to stop at the edge of the circuit. There are pitfalls because of the conditions. It means former Prime Minister Fillon prefers to let teammate Stanislas de Sadelier get the best out of the BMW M1 from 1979. After an hour of racing, a legendary team wins. Jean-Michel Martin, the four-time winner of the 24 Hours of Spa, teamed up with 1977 24 Hours of Le Mans champion Jürgen Barth. It's true, our Porsche has been well set up, it had good grip, and in bad conditions like this and with a little bit of experience we've got, well, we've done a few years after all, that helped. Yeah, it wasn't the rain actually that was the bad thing, it was the fog, because on the top part of the circuit we couldn't see anything, not even the track. The famous soapboxes take to the circuit, and they're confronted on the asphalt by the famous Radion de l'Eau Rouge. It's taken backwards by some of these 50 silent vehicles that can get up to a top speed of over 90 kilometers an hour and are capable of providing thrills. Another new thing at the 2013 Spa Classic is the auction organised by Bonhams, an amazing opportunity for collectors to acquire the car of their dreams. And for this first auction in Belgium, more than 50 exceptional models were up for grabs.
A bit of
everything actually, a few race cars here, some sports cars, some post-war cars that please the people here. There's the Mira and the Ferrari 275 GTB, and these are the cars that have a lot of interest in them. I think the price will reflect that. A lot of people get involved, and there's a very positive assessment of how the auction went.
La voiture de couverture, la Lamborghini
The front cover car, the Lamborghini, restored under Valentino Balboni's direction, went under the hammer for €500,000. That's a great result. The back cover car, the 275 GTB, went for €785,000. We're really happy. The turnover was more than $3 million. For a first auction, that's perfect. Going through the CER1 paddock, we weren't at all surprised to come across a former 24 Hours Le Mans winner here at the Spa Classic. He's in charge of preparing the number 114 Chevrolet Corvette C3.
C'est une voiture effectivement
It's an
exceptionnelle.
exceptional car. It won the Le Mans Classic and GT Plateau 5. It's quick and reliable. It's a 1968 car that generates 500 horsepower. It's a big engine car, and it's true, we look after it well.
C'est un bon gros moteur et c'est vrai qu'on s'en occupe bien.
The Spa Classic weekend is well loved by the drivers.
C'est vraiment très convivial.
Oh, you know, it's really convivial. We chat a lot with the spectators. It's great and people come out to have a look at the cars. It means the drivers aren't the stars, but that's not a problem. It means we get to make the most of it and put some laps in and watch the other
On
cars.
peut aussi profiter, se balader, faire les tours de circuit et voir toutes les voitures qui roulent.
At the Spa Classic, there are also legendary cars like the Peugeot 905, which won at Le Mans in 1993 and which has been entered this weekend in Group C. It brings back great memories for Eric Ellery.
Et le bruit de cette voiture, ça restera
The noise of
à
this
tout
car
jamais dans
will
ma mémoire.
forever
Et
stay
puis,
with
je
me.
m'installe dedans,
Then I
tu sais,
get
pour
into
les
it and I know straight away where the buttons are as I've driven it so often. 7 Le Mans in free testing. It's true that things are different nowadays. Back then, if the driver didn't drive well, then the car wouldn't finish the 24 hours. We had 4 tons of downforce at 400 kilometers an hour. That was a great car. This V10 3.5 litre car is truly magical. We were revving at 10,400 in the 24 hours and 12,700 in qualifying, if I remember rightly. But you had to be careful not to overdo it.
Par contre, là, pas question de faire un sur-régime.
The Group C is alluring with the great Mercedes C11, some Porsche 962s, a Jaguar XJR, some Spice, and even a Nissan R90. The Japanese manufacturer is once again present at a classic cars event organised by Peter Auto.
C'est la deuxième année consécutive à Spa Classic.
It's the second year running for us at the Spa Classic. It's really a great pleasure to be back, especially as Nissan raced here with Group Cs and we have a long history with Spa. The second opportunity given to us by Peter Auto is that we can also race our clients' 370Zs and GTRs. A community has been created here. We meet up again with great pleasure every year, whether at the Le Mans Classic or the Spa Classic. And a certain club is here celebrating the origins of the brand. The Datsun France Club is here with its 240Zs and 260Zs, all these cars that are part of Nissan's sporting history, and also the Nismo that is there to run. Back to the racing and to Group C. From the start, 2 Spices hit the front, the number 20, driven by Peter Meyrick, in front of the 107 of the Douzin-Jamard duo. But 15 minutes from the end, Meyrick has to abandon after his car gives in. It means the Mercedes C11 number 31 of Bob Berridge hits the front and holds on for the win. On now to the CER1 cars, and it's still bucketing it down. Starting 15th, the Porsche 911 RSR of the Colombian brothers Santiago and Juan Pablo Oruela seems very good in the wet. At the end of the 1-hour race, the Swiss Bernard Tuner and his Lola T70 Mark III takes it from the Belgian pair, Latre de Busco and Jamar, which finished very strongly despite losing time in the pits. Initially entered in the CR1 in the number 33 car, Richard Mille couldn't make it to Spa-Francorchamps, but he'll be back.
The
passion of the creator of the Richard Mille brand is essential in our history. These are watches that respect timekeeping history and are tightly linked to the motorsports world. A passion we also find among the major sponsors of the event.
This is one of the areas that I certainly enjoy. You know, I say obviously we do quite a lot of it, but certainly engagements that I enjoy attending. So it's always something to look forward to in the calendar.
A hotly contested category, the Formula 2, would in the end be claimed by young Briton Andrew Smith at the wheel of his March 1974. He won both races ahead of the highly experienced Martin Stretton and his Blue March number 6. to mark the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the 911, the second Jubilee Porsche race concludes the 2013 edition of the Spa Classic. After starting last, Jim Pace cuts a swathe through the field at the wheel of his 1974 Porsche RSR. Despite problems with mud on the windscreen, he wins from Michel Lecour and Santiago Orjuela.
I just kept passing cars and I kept seeing them and thinking, when is this race going to end? So fantastic. Thanks to George Tuma for letting me come over and drive this nice car.
And so comes to an end the third edition of the Spa Classic, an event which just becomes more successful with each passing year. And the 2014 edition will undoubtedly continue that trend.